So let's get to the Democratic side of this. Michigan Democratic Senator Alyssa Slotkin joining me right now. She, of course, a member of the Homeland Security and Armed Services Committee. And thank you for racing to the camera after that unsuccessful vote. Give me your sense of how you felt going into the vote and if you were surprised by the outcome.
I mean, look, we've been taking this vote, the same exact vote, every single day, pretty much. And so in what I think is happening is that every single day the numbers are remaining consistent, right? It's not changing. We don't see a ton of Democrats, weakening in the knees and changing their votes. And so I think that's sending in a signal, as you heard in the last comments there. I do think it's enough. Like, we want to be able to sit in a room and have a negotiation. We don't need to negotiate through the press. I don't need to watch, Senator Thune on TV in order to find out what he says he's offering Democrats. Just get in a room like adults do, and we can have this, out. It's going to start with health care, and I think he's said he's open to that. Great. Adults get in a room, they throw out the press, no offense, they throw out Twitter, and they just get to working, and that's the point that isn't happening. And no matter what Mr. Thune offers, I'm sorry, I got to know that President Trump is on board, because it's not enough anymore to take the word of Speaker Johnson or Senator Thune, because they have to go check with the big guy in the White House. So to me, this negotiation is about, frankly, going with the White House and having that debate, that negotiation together, so that we're not just like twiddling our thumbs here when Thune gets overruled or Johnson gets overruled.
What do you think the chances are that President Trump would come down to Capitol Hill, or a select group of senators and leaders in the House would go to the White House and have this conversation?
I mean, I think that's very possible. I mean, you just coming back from a successful trip to the Middle East. He's the art of the deal guy. I think if the president wants to get this done, we can get it done in 72 hours. But we got to have a conversation with the real decider. And right now, because the Senate Republicans have shown zero backbone, zero interest in preserving this branch of government. And Speaker Johnson just hasn't even been to work for 28 straight days. He just literally isn't working. So let's negotiate with the guy who can get things done, and that's President Trump.
Is there a perception that the party risks looking unreasonable, unwilling to compromise? Again, we heard what Senator Thune said in the face of, tepid perhaps, but at least some offers from Republicans.
I mean, you can't put an offer on TV and say you've done your offer. Like, we just came from the Senate floor. He was 20 feet away from me, right? Have conversations like a real negotiation. Everyone watching, whatever work they're in, knows what a real negotiation is. It's the people with different sides come into a room like adults, like we train our kids to do, and they sit down and they say, how far apart are we? How do we bridge that gap? And I'm a big girl, right? I understand that the Democrats don't have the White House. We don't have the Senate. We don't have the House. So I'm not going to get everything I want. I've accepted that. That compromise is not a dirty word to me, but I do feel very strongly that they have precipitated a healthcare crisis in America. Every single person I know is getting a notice about an increase to their price of healthcare for January. So, yeah, I'm going to fight on behalf of people who are not having access to care. They can't afford it anymore. But that doesn't mean I accept that I'm going to win everything. But to go on TV and say we've made offers and without checking with Trump, who's their boss at this point, and without actually having a formal conversation, invite us into the offices. We're here in the Capitol. We're working. I just think it's a little too cute by half to say that we've made offers when you do it on camera.
I was going to use the word disingenuous. I think they both make sense here and are applicable. Let me ask you about your constituents with whom I'm sure you've been speaking. What kind of hardship is this presenting for them as they contemplate potentially skyrocketing health care costs?
I mean, look, I think there's few bills in our lives that are as personal in some way or another as health care. And certainly it has been for me, right? And, I've had my own family issues with the price of health care and not having access to health care. And when you tell a working family that they're paying $300 now for their insurance, but it's going to go up to $750 in January, when you tell them that, a small business owner in Ypsilanti, Michigan, that you provide health care for your 7 employees at your child care center, but now it's going up $460 a month for everybody, and they're having to really contemplate not providing insurance to their employees who they care about. I mean, you're talking about real life stuff. This isn't some amorphous, abstract policy conversation in Washington. This is about your pocketbook, your kids, your health care, your access to a long life. And so I think we put out a call, and just said, hey, we keep hearing all these stories. Have you heard something from your healthcare provider? What notices have you got? We got like 500 plus letters in like 3 days. And I think the heart-wrenching thing about this is that, for some people, this is a political fight in Washington, and you're going to cover it that way. But for a lot of people, this is life and death. This is healthcare for their kids who have some, pre-existing condition. It's a real thing. And I think the people here have often lost sight of that. This is not some made-up thing. This is a healthcare crisis.
It's been 23 days and counting since Adelita Grijalva won a special election to take over her late father's congressional seat in Arizona. But House Speaker Mike Johnson is still refusing to swear her in. He says it's because the government is shut down and out of session. She says it's because she'll be the deciding vote to release the Epstein files.
She says that you're afraid of her being the 218th signer to the Epstein petition to release the files, that if she were a Republican, you would have sworn her in. What do you say?
I say bless her heart. She's a representative-elect. She doesn't know how it works around here. We're going to give her the oath of office as soon as we get back to regular session.
Johnson's stance has been slammed by Democrats who point to his decision to swear in 2 Florida Republicans back in April when the House was officially out of session. That also happened just one day after they won their special elections. Joining us now is Democratic Congressman-elect of Arizona, Adelita Grijalva. We're so glad to have you here. You know what you're doing, right? Your father was a congressman for how many years? I'm sure he told you what the rules were and you spoke with him. So I ask you what you think about the speaker's response to you, the bless your heart part. I mean, it could be taken seriously or kind of condescendingly. What do you say?
Oh, no, it's totally condescending, patronizing, misogynistic, and really telling of where he is. I mean, I think that people can see what's happening here and his push to obstruct me getting sworn in, and why he's doing that is because I will be the 218th signer to the Epstein files. And this delay tactic, I believe he's trying to get one of the other 4 Republicans who signed on to the petition to remove their name. So my swearing in is not that big of an issue.
To that point you just said about how some people will play this off as political, I'd like to play what Speaker Johnson said earlier today about this, about how the implication being it's not just about health care. Take a listen.
This is not a health care fight. This is a very simple funding fight. It always was. They have created a red herring. The subsidies don't expire until the end of the year. We were always planning to have the thoughtful debate and deliberation over that in the month of October and November before the subsidies expired. They know that. They grabbed that issue from the end of the year and pulled it back into September to try to pretend like that was the issue. It never was.
What do you say to the speaker?
Talk to your own constituents in your own state. The letters, I didn't make those letters up. Those letters coming from Blue Cross or from private employer insurance, I mean, they're open. These companies are open. The big, beautiful bill passed on July 4th because of Speaker Johnson and the rest of them up here. It precipitated a place where the hospitals said, uh-oh, people are going to have less insurance. I got to make up the difference. I got to make up my costs. We just got to charge people with private employer for provided insurance more money in order to make our bills work. And then those companies turn around and raise rates for everyone who has private employer provided insurance. It's a math problem, and the notices are not anyone's fiction. And if he can't understand that, he hasn't talked to a real person in a real long time. 28 days he's been gone from the House. I thought he would have some time to talk to some people. What do you say to that mom in Ypsilanti who can't afford insurance anymore? Just what do you say to them? Do you say, this isn't a real crisis? That letter you got is fake? It's insulting to people. People know their own pocketbooks, they know their kids, and they know when politicians are being damn politicians.
Let me pivot to what's happening later this afternoon as we expect a vote on a Republican measure to fund the Pentagon. That includes money to make sure the troops keep getting paid. You were on the Armed Services Committee. What are you going to do? Are you going to vote for it?
Well, honestly, this is another one of those things where we barely know what we're voting on. Mr. Thune has brought over the House version of the Pentagon budget, not the Senate version that his own members, his own chairman, negotiated. We don't know exactly what he's going to put forward at 2:15. So I got to know what I'm voting on. I'm one of those people who's like, I trust but verify. I'd like to see what I'm voting on. The House version of that bill is not a good version. It's just not. I'm on the Senate Armed Services Committee. I voted proudly for the Pentagon budget last week through the committee I sit on. But I got to see what version we're talking about. And this idea that somehow we're just going to trust these guys, anyone who trusts Mr. Thune at this point, it is like, I got a bridge I want to sell you. I mean, it's just, they can't make moves without President Trump. So I wish that we were in an environment where my Republican colleagues would just tell us, here's what we're doing. Here's why we think it will get us to a better place. Here's how we're ready to negotiate. And I am all in. I'm from a state that expects me to be sitting down and negotiating, and I'm ready to do that at any moment.
Indeed you are. You are from Michigan. Senator Alyssa Slotkin, thank you so much for the conversation. Appreciate it.
Let's just call this shutdown what it truly is. Chaos created by Trump and enabled by Speaker Mike Johnson. The country is being dragged through unnecessary pain, and for what purpose? A political stunt disguised as negotiation. It follows the same circus, the same script. The American people are the ones paying the ticket price for it. Senator Alyssa Slotkin captured it perfectly when she said adults should be able to sit in a room and resolve their differences. That's how governance is supposed to function. Yet that is far from what's happening here. Instead of real negotiation, Republicans are putting on a made-for-TV performance, announcing offers on camera as if it were a campaign rally. Just sit in a room with them. It's performative politics at its worst, and no one should pretend otherwise. The GOP created this mess. They passed bills that destabilized coverage, ignored the warning signs, and now they're pointing fingers at everyone except themselves. Johnson wishes to act as though Democrats manipulated the timeline by raising the issue early. No, Democrats are responding to real people panicking about their premiums. If that form of action qualifies as political gamesmanship, then it's the kind that actually helps working families. Meanwhile, Trump remains the shadow president behind it all. Senate Republicans have openly admitted that they can't even move without checking with him first. Senator Thune can't make a deal, Johnson can't take a vote, and the country stands frozen because one man in Florida playing golf wants to preserve his grip on power. The so-called art of the deal author has turned government into the art of delay and the art of decay. And the dysfunction goes way deeper, such as Johnson's refusal to swear in Arizona Democrat Adelita Grijalva Still, who was elected fair and square. His excuse is that the House is out of session, as if that matters. That didn't prevent him from swearing in 2 Florida Republicans under identical circumstances earlier this year. The difference this time is simple. Grijalva would become the decisive vote to release the Epstein files. Remember those? That's the true motive. Not procedure, not timing, but fear. Fear of transparency, fear of accountability. At some point, Americans have to ask, who's actually working for them? It's clearly not the Speaker, who's been absent for nearly a month. It's clearly not the ex-president and current president pulling strings from Mar-a-Lago instead of actually doing real work. Real leadership means showing up, confronting difficult conversations, and putting the country before ego. That's something this Republican Party seems utterly incapable of doing. In the meantime, the rest of us remain trapped in their mess, waiting for the adults to finally walk back into the room.